Hello! For this video I'm going to be talking through the many problems users encounter with Wabbajack and how you might go about fixing them. So this video here is an explanation for what Wabbajack is, so I'm not covering that here, and it's also worth remembering that the install methods can vary between every list for every game, so while I can cover a good majority of problems, remember that there are some that are just very specific to a mod list. The first part of this video will cover issues with setting up Wabbajack, and the rest will be problems with the list installation. Also, as for why you should trust what I'm talking about, I've been using Wabbajack for years. I've had input from Dace, a mod list author who helps out on a bunch of Wabbajack discords, so thank you Dace. And also I'll be reading a couple of parts of the Wabbajack Wiki, so you know, it's straight from the source. Anyway, let's begin. If you can't get wabbajack.exe to run, there's a couple solutions. First, go to your PC search bar, or press Windows key R. Let me just bring that over here so you can see, and type in %local appdata%, and press OK. Then with this folder here, you want to find Wabbajack, right down at the bottom. Am I blind? There it is. Wabbajack, and you'll want to delete that. This doesn't delete the install or Wabbajack itself, it's just Wabbajack settings. So then when you go back to the wabbajack.exe file, hopefully it should start up straight away. There we go. And if that doesn't work, you should probably try grabbing the latest Wabbajack release from the GitHub page, which I will link in the description. Here you can see all the different versions, and obviously you'll want the latest version number. It's also worth remembering that the exe is not the installer, it's the launcher, so you're going to want to grab the zip file, 3.5.0.1, download that, then you'll want to go to wherever you want Wabbajack installed, and just make sure it's in an empty and not protected folder. Protected folders are like desktop, documents, you know, the ones you see along here, pictures, program files. You don't want it in that. You want it just in your drive. I made Wabbajack in my D drive or media, right here. And then in there, you extract that folder that you just downloaded. You can ignore the rest of these folders. And once it's extracted, you should have the latest version of wabbajack.exe there. If you're encountering a black screen, either just on the homepage or in the settings or anything, what you'll likely need to do is install WebView 2. Again, I'll link that in the description. To explain it very basically, it helps Wabbajack connect to the web. In fact, Wabbajack uses a good few Microsoft libraries to work, and these may be missing if you have a customized Windows 10 or 11. So you'll need to repair your Windows if you've ever used like a debloater or something alike. So to install lists, you'll need to make sure you're actually signed into Nexus mods at the very least, and Vectorplexus if it uses that. And if you're wondering where logins like for Lover's Lab and such are, they'll pop up as you install a list that uses them. If you try and log in and you end up with a black screen, refer to the previous fix I just talked about. That is an issue that sometimes happens. And if you're having problems connecting to Nexus in general, just click log out, try logging back in again, repeat. That usually does it. So if you've got Wabbajack all set up and you've selected a mod list you want to install, for the sake of this I'll choose Essentio. You may encounter a red warning saying installation failed. Ignore that. Like this image I found on Reddit. You'll probably recognise it immediately. The big old red box, installation failed. And before I get to the solutions now, remember you don't need to bother with the back button. Any fixes I talk about will only work if you've actually closed Wabbajack and then open it back up. Because I've got a list that's actually working for me, just pretend the installation failed box is here and, you know, the log of many words are over here. So, firstly, I know just saying turn it off and on again sounds way too simple, but there's been so many times where I've simply closed Wabbajack, opened it back up again, and it's all working fine. Sometimes it can even take a few tries, or even a PC reset might help. But yeah, it's always the go-to solution for me, and it'll resume the download so you don't have to start over. The next solution is another simple one. Many lists won't install if it's not the latest version of Wabbajack. For me, Wabbajack always checks for updates when I open it, and so it might do the same for you, but it's worth checking that the version number is the same with the one on the GitHub that we looked at before. If not, do the same thing, unpack the zip folder, use Wabbajack in there. If that doesn't work, a common cause for these problems is where you've selected your installation and download folder. Some places on your PC are the protected folders, again, stuff like your desktop, documents, videos, OneDrive, program files, or any other folder that's part of the usual Windows install. You want to make sure that your modlist installation location is on the root level of a drive. So, as an example, I have my hard drive which I use for games, I have mine for media, like YouTube stuff. So for the sake of this, I will choose media, then I go to modlists, the Essentio file which I made myself. It's full at the moment because I've installed the list, but pretend it's empty. I will then select that as my folder. And it's very important that this folder that you've used for the install location is empty. If it's full, like it was for me, so yeah, I've got the list installed at the moment. But imagine these were files to do with, I don't know, fun pictures of cats. The moment I click install, it will delete all of that and begin moving the mod manager and everything like that into here. So yeah, make sure it's empty. And also make sure the installation location isn't where your game is actually located. So you may think, oh, I'm modding Skyrim, so I'm going to go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Skyrim Special Edition, and I'll select here as my folder. Nope, never do that. Again, it will delete it all. Anyway, back on Wabbajack, you then have the download location, which is automatically filled in, and if you want, keep it as that. Don't bother with anything and let it do its thing. Or you can select another area for the downloads. This is basically where it stores all the mods it's grabbing from Nexus and places like that. So for me, I do it on a completely different drive, on my games drive, and I have a folder called Wabbajack Mods, which is, as you can see, full of 291 gigabytes of mods. I have it going there. Again, has to be on the root level of a drive. You don't want it on a protected folder. But yeah, I'd select Wabbajack Mods. Doesn't matter, that's a different drive from my Wabbajack or where I'm installing the list. It's just because I like to keep things organised, and when I install multiple lists, I can have them all use the same download location. So, you know, keeps things all in one place. Next, this may again seem like an obvious problem, but trust me, I've made this mistake numerous times, and it's just not having enough space in your hard drives. As you can see, if I was to install this list from fresh in my games folder, my 46 gigabytes would not handle it. It would get halfway through the download and then stop. And with many of these lists requiring hundreds of gigabytes, it's easy to set it to download and just forget about it. So yeah, make sure you have the space. If those solutions aren't working, you can then, I assume you'll be looking at a screen like this, and look at the logs here. And it might say something like, unable to download a specific mod, or it might use the phrase unable to download one or more archives. Now, if the mods, which should be named somewhere along in this example, they're not, but you'd get a mod name along the line, and if it's from Nexus, you either need to log out of Nexus in the Wabbajack settings, then log back in, or you've reached your limit for mods downloaded in a day. Nexus has a cap of around 2,500 mods a day, I think. Although it's very unlikely you'll reach that limit unless you've been installing multiple lists all day. If the missing mods aren't on Nexus, then Wabbajack is having trouble finding them. And no, you can't ignore the mod and continue the install, it simply won't do anything until everything's downloaded. But don't worry, you don't need to delete everything and start over. In fact, that's rarely ever the solution to a problem, so don't be quick to remove your progress. What you'll likely have to do is install the missing mods manually. Take the Living Skyrim list, for example. If I go to the troubleshooting section, Wabbajack issues, here it says, so let's say Wabbajack's saying the Skyrim particle patch for EMB SSE 2020 is failing to download. Luckily on their guide here, they have a handy link where you can open that up to a Google Drive and download it from here. Whenever it loads. There you go. So yeah, you'd grab that, or you'd grab it from their Discord server. Quite often in the pins for like support, they may have links to Google Drive's mods that Wabbajack aren't installing, or even in Wabbajack itself in the, let's go back to that, in the log, where it says the mod it can't download, it will have a link to it, so you can use that link and go grab it manually. Once you have the mod or mods downloaded, you'd then go to your download location, not install, download for the mods. So for me it was on Games, Wabbajack Mods, and then you would simply plop it in here, plop the folder that you just downloaded into here, then assuming you've had Wabbajack closed, you'd open it up again, and resume the download, and it should hopefully find the mod that you've just installed. Now, as I said, often problem mods will either be found in the log, or on the Discord server, or in the install guide, but if not, it's possible it's just something that the mod author is currently trying to deal with. In the past I've had mods trying to download from Mega, and it's something that eventually worked after I just left it for a day. So the next problem is similar to the previous one, except instead of being unable to download a mod and everything stopping, the download keeps going until it gets to the install section, and then it encounters the missing mod and everything breaks. Again, this isn't something I can replicate because this list is working, but the mod causing problems will likely be named here. Now, when this has happened to me in the past, I'll usually go to my downloads folder, where all the mods are being kept. I would find the mod that was listed in the log, let's say Ancient Dwemer Metal, pretend that's the problem, and I might find it and be like, oh, but it's downloaded, so what's the problem? But then if you actually open it, you'd realise that it's either only partially downloaded or this folder is completely empty. Don't know why, it doesn't happen that often, but it has happened a couple times. So in that case, you would delete this mod and run Wabbajack again, and run the download again, and hopefully it'd realise it's gone, and download it properly. But if that doesn't work, you'd go back to my previous point, where you grab the mod from the Discord or the README, download it, and drop it in here manually. You should then be able to run the list again, and it should work. Next, download problems could also be caused by your antivirus or killer apps. These are apps that are often part of Dell and Alienware PCs. If it's your antivirus, you'll have to go into your antivirus settings. So for me, that'll be Defender. Let's bring that up. You'd have to go into your antivirus settings for whatever it is, and allowed threats, and allow Wabbajack to get past, basically. I can't get that detailed, because there's a lot of different securities out there. But yeah, you gotta make sure it knows that Wabbajack is good. Although some third-party antiviruses, like McAfee, Norton, AVG and such, may still mark Wabbajack as a virus. And in that case, unfortunately, the whole antivirus will need to be paused or disabled while you download. It's just a problem with the software. Wabbajack obviously isn't a virus. Although if you're ever suspicious of anything, you can upload it to a site like VirusTotal for some peace of mind. As for those killer apps I was talking about, you can see if your PC has them in Task Manager. So if I type in kill, there you go. Don't know why it's called killer, sounds evil, but then not, other than I didn't ask for them to be installed. But if you do have these, you then open the Killer Intelligence Center in your Windows search, which will bring up this, and disable prioritization engine and auto bandwidth. Luckily it's all working for me, so I'm going to leave it, but yeah, that can sometimes be a problem. Moving on, if the log at the side here says the phrase "while loading slide," resetting Wabbajack will usually fix this. It's the same as I mentioned at the very start of the video, where you go into Windows key R, %local data %, open to that, find Wabbajack and delete that folder, and it should reset Wabbajack settings. Moving on, you may be running Wabbajack as admin and you don't even know it, which is bad because you don't want to run it as admin. To check if this is the case, you're going to want to search for user account control settings, and it will bring up this. And if it's at the bottom, it means every program is automatically launching in admin mode. So to fix this, you simply move the slider up. I have it on this notch here because it says it's the default. And yeah, every program shouldn't run in admin at that point. And you do need to restart your PC for it to take effect. Although, if you have a version of Windows that doesn't allow this, you'll have to create a second account and run Wabbajack through that. It's a bit more awkward, and this method hasn't really been tested, so do it at your own risk. This next problem's quite simple. If you use the GOG version of a game, you'll have to check in the install guide if that's actually allowed. Pretty much all of them use Steam, but yeah, it'll usually say if GOG is allowed or any other game launcher. Plus, if you have a pirated version of the game, Wabbajack won't work, so you're out of luck. So I'll be referring to Steam for this problem, but I'd assume the same logic applies to other game launchers. So if Wabbajack can't find the game you're trying to mod, it's usually a problem caused by moving Steam games to another folder. So usually Steam games are found along Steam, Steam Apps, Common, they'll be in here. If you've moved a game manually out of here, it's likely Wabbajack won't find it. If you ever want to move a game, you go into Steam, Properties, Installed Files, move Install Folder. You want to do it like that, and then Wabbajack should be able to find it still. Or you could just uninstall the game and reinstall it wherever you want. Either way, just let Steam handle it. And wherever you do put the game, it doesn't have to be on the same drive as Wabbajack. In fact, I've often installed games on my games drive, obviously, and then I have Wabbajack on media, so yeah, it's always seemed to work like that. Just let Steam handle it. Although, if you've never touched the game's location but you're still encountering an issue, it may unfortunately be something on Steam's end, so you'll probably need to uninstall the game and then reinstall. Next, there's a lot of lists out there that will only work with a specific language, usually English. It will likely tell you in the list's install guide, and Wabbajack will say something like unable to install Skyrim_default.ini. If this is the case, right-click the game that you want to mod, go on Properties, then you go to Language, and select English. Then you'll want to go to Installed Files and verify integrity of game files. Moving on, a common problem with installs has to do with your game version. Firstly, if the Wabbajack log says something like game file source downloader, which it actually does in this example, usually you'll have to, again, verify your game files in Steam to get it working. So Properties, Installed Files, there you go. If that doesn't do it, you may still have the wrong version of a game, and I'll use Skyrim as an example because of its recent updates. If a list says it requires the latest version of Skyrim, then of course you update it, and make sure to run the game so then all the DLCs are installed as well. But if the list says it requires an older version of Skyrim, do not downgrade it yourself unless it specifically tells you to. While many lists do use an older version of Skyrim, they may still require you to have the latest update. The list itself will then downgrade it for you when you install. As we're on the topic of Skyrim, I'll end with a couple Skyrim-specific problems. The first is with Creation Club content. So, if a list says it requires Skyrim Anniversary Edition, or the free Creation Club content for Special Edition, you need to make sure it's installed properly. You may think it is, but if Wabbajack is saying it's missing some .bsa files, or if you see the name like here ccbgsse, that's usually Creation Club content. So going to Skyrim on Steam, it may say your DLC is installed, but you actually need to open the game. Then on the menu, you'd go to Creations, to their new fancy, lovely paid mods area. Then go to Options, and from here you should be able to install the specific creations you need. Either enable all or download all own Creation Club creations if you've not bought stuff off the store. So yeah, that's a step that many people, including myself, forget. Also, as of making this video, there's a problem with the Curios creation. Basically, if your Wabbajack is saying there's a problem with curios.bsa or ESL, you need to go into your Skyrim installation folder. Again, Steam Apps, Common. There you go. Skyrim Special Edition. Go into Data. And then find curios.bsa. There it is, or ESL if that's a problem as well. You then need to delete those, verify your files in Steam again, and they should come back and should be fixed. Wrapping up, this is just a step that a lot of people miss. There are a few mod lists that require the creation kit to be installed. It's basically the program that's used to mod Skyrim and Fallout, and you can grab it for free on Steam. But do check the list install guide to see if it's required. And finally, if Wabbajack still isn't working, and you've thoroughly looked through the mod list guide, you'll have to consult the list Discord. So, say for the Essentio list here, I'd click Discord, it'll do its thing, I'd have to join Awakened Dreams, and then from there I could ask, yo, what's the problem? To help out the admins, it's always good to go into a Wabbajack folder and then look for logs, which is here, and then, whatever errors you've had, you can grab the log from there and post it in the Discord and they can read what's wrong. And that about covers it. If you're watching this hoping to fix a problem, I really hope this has helped, and if there's something I missed, feel free to put it in the comments. And a huge thank you to Dace, who helped me make sure I cover as many problems as possible. So yeah, thank you for watching, and enjoy your mod list.